back there. I'll give you a couple of seconds to get you to your place. I'm happy to see everybody back that was here last week, and I welcome anyone that is new tonight. I hope that you feel welcomed and make yourself known to all of us that are here. Last week, if you were not here, we just went over actually the whole program, talking about what's going to be happening throughout the whole year. So if you weren't here, you might want to go to our website and look at all of the PowerPoint and the handouts and everything we gave last week. We also have, every time you come in, if you miss, there's always a section that says last week, so you can pick up the handouts that are there. And you notice tonight, too, that I'm providing you with a notebook, and I got bigger ones this year because I'm expecting to be giving you more and more things to put in there. So even though it looks rather sparse, that will be filled up. Anyway, so tonight we're going to start on our first in a series of many Tuesday evenings where we're going to be giving you kind of an overview of the Catholic faith. There will be some times that you will find that you know the things that we're talking about, and it's sort of a refresher. There'll be other times when the information might be new or confusing, or you have lots of questions. So we hope you have questions. On your tables, there are little notebooks and pens, and we encourage you to write your questions down, like one question per paper. And be sure to hand them to me anytime, like at the break or something. We will have time when we will have question and answer time, too, in some of our sessions. Tonight we're going to be starting out this RCIA year by talking about, in general, our search for God. The topic lends itself well to those of you that are seeking. We're going to be talking tonight about why people search, what the search is like, and some developmental stages that people go through. And I hope that you'll find your journey, your story in these developmental stages. We will take a break and have more food and drink. And then we'll come back and there'll be some processing time for you and some time for you to talk to the people at your table about the search. So I want you to keep in the back of your mind tonight as I'm talking just where you think you might be on the journey of faith. We're all on the journey. We're just in different places on it. So keep that in mind. Each night when we come together, the first thing that we usually do besides announcements is to have a prayer time together. Prayer is kind of the basis of the spiritual life. Some of you might be really veterans at prayer and have a routine in your life. But most of you, I would say, probably wish you had more time to pray or knew how to pray. So we're going to be trying just to show you many different styles and many different methods and ways of praying. And if you don't feel comfortable in the prayer, that's fine, perfectly fine. Just try to focus inward when we go into prayer and to let it sort of just wash over you. And eventually you'll feel a little more comfortable with it. One of my favorite ways to pray is to use music. And I know some of you might think that's a little strange, but music is the type of thing that can elevate you and also make you feel feelings and go into your interior easier than any word or picture. So tonight I'm going to start with a song, and I actually have a YouTube video that I'm going to play for you. So I would just ask you to, as I'm bringing this up, to just kind of get still, and the words will be on the screen with the pictures and the song. And just let the words and the pictures and the music be as a prayer for you as we start tonight.
You want to know me, you want to see my face. I do not age with time, I do not fit into space. I transcend the capacity of your eyes. So who am I? It is the question of the moment, it is the question for all time. I am you, and you are mine. I am the beginning and the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music in the silence. I am your father. I am your mother. I am the man who cannot cry. I am the story in your eyes. I am the orphan of war. I am the leopard begging on the corner. I am the black slave in chains. I am the Muslim bride who cannot show her face. I am the cross you carry again. I am the beginning and the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am the falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music in the silence. I'm all you have forgotten. I am all that you have not been. I am in you. All of this is within you. Let the journey begin. Amen. I am in you. Amen. I am the beginning in the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am the falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music. I am the beginning in the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am the falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music. I am the beginning and the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am the falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music. I am the beginning in the end. I am the faith in your believing. I am the color of truth. I am the dreamer of your dreams. I am the falling in your love. I am the words of a prayer. I am the silence in the music. I am the music in the silence.
Amen. There we go. There were many images in the song that I hope will stay with you a little bit tonight as we talk about our search for God. First thing that I wanted to kind of share with you, and there's going to be a lot of times tonight when I'm going to be just talking about my own story, but I wanted to just direct you to my picture up here that I have had in my office for a really long time. And if you look at the picture, it's a picture of a little girl, and she's beginning on a journey on a road. And if you notice, the road kind of goes off the page, goes off the picture. You can't really see where it's going. It's kind of a primitive road. There's vegetation on either side of the road, and there's two pathways that are going in the same direction. I often like to think of myself on the journey of faith as this little girl. And if you look closely, she's carrying two things. In one hand, she's carrying a basket that have a few things in them, and in the other hand, she's carrying her teddy bear. And, I think it's really important that we remember, and many of the great spiritual writers tell us that we should always put on the beginner's mind when we start thinking about who God is. Because we have a lot of history, we have a lot of images, we have a lot of information, we have a lot of misconceptions, we have a lot of feelings about who God is that we carry with us. And so a lot of times, especially when we're adults, we think we kind of know. We kind of know who God is. And that's kind of dangerous, really, because God is so infinite. The great thing about God is that there's infinite things to learn about where I can be in relationship with this God. And so we begin tonight in our search for God just by putting on the beginner's mind, by saying to yourself, even no matter how many years you've intentionally been on the journey, and for me, it's been about 30 years, although, as I mentioned last week, I was raised in a Catholic family, but I'd say intentionally as an adult on the journey, about 30 years, intentionally every day, trying to develop this relationship, I'd still say that I'm still that little girl on that journey. Part of the mystery of the journey is not knowing the destination, where you're really going. Obviously, you're taught as a child that you want to get close to God because you want to go to heaven. And so I suppose, that is also in the little girl's mind, wanting to go to heaven. But where is heaven? We really don't know. So the destination is sort of unknown. And so there's a lot of trust that has to happen at the very beginning of the journey. At the very beginning. So I look at all of you tonight, and I know you've come here to RCIA. There's some reason why God has knocked on the door of your heart, and here you are. And I know that there's probably a lot of wondering and some apprehension as well, and that's a good thing. It's always good to have that as you're starting on your journey. But one of the things that's important for us to know is that our search for God is innate. We are wired for God, as they say. We're born with the need to make sense out of life. And life is really about a search for some sort of meaning. We're looking for meaning in our lives. We seek answers to the bigger questions of who am I and why am I here? Those identity questions don't just start as an adult. They start basically when we begin to think abstractly around about middle school, maybe a little bit younger for some kids that are deep thinkers. We start asking, who am I? Why am I here? And those answers are in us. We believe it, that we are born in the image and likeness of God, meaning that we have these souls infused in us when we're born, and we're wired for God. However, within each of us as well, there is a deep restlessness that lies within our hearts. So while we are searching for meaning, we have a fire or a passion within us. And that makes us feel restless. All of you know the feeling, I'm sure. You know? It's that feeling of that something's not quite right. Even when you're really happy, you start to wonder, is this all there is? A restlessness. But what we do with that passion or that restlessness is really what we call spirituality. There exists within all of us a holy longing. We long for transcendence. We long, we intuit that there's something more beyond ourselves. And so everyone seeks, even people who say they're atheists or agnostics or whatever, however your life has been in denying God or ignoring God or just putting God off for a while. Everyone is seeking the same thing, and that is to find something to fill that longing within us. And you know that there's plenty of people out there that fill it with lots of things that take them on destructive paths, you know. Sometimes it's a search that takes people into addiction, where they spiral down, thinking that is the answer to the restlessness that they seek. And then others go on the spiritual journey and look for God. And that's where you're at tonight. God can take many, many forms in people's lives. Some of these forms are authentic and true and good, and some of them are not. Some of them are false. Some people are following the false gods of our culture. But the search for God then is recorded in all cultures and in all disciplines. You can look at any of these ologies, I call them, and you can see that search for meaning that's there. You know, all of these ologies have talked about God in one way or another. And it's been recorded since the very beginning of time through all of these. But none of them give answers. Only religion dares to give the ultimate life questions, and here they are. Let's take a look at them a little bit. And I'm sure all of you have kind of had these questions in your mind before. Is there a purpose for life? What is the ultimate nature of reality? What is the meaning of suffering? That's a huge one that people often grapple with. If there's really a God who is just and true, why is there suffering? Is there objective truth with a capital T, or is it all relative? What is evil? We all know it exists. Just open the paper every day, listen to the news. We know the evil exists, but what is it? And what does the unexpected, what happens then? Why? Why does it happen? What do we make of the absurdities of life? And then, of course, these are the big questions. What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife? Many times when people beyond, high school, young adulthood, and I would say venture into adulthood, start doubting that there is anything more than what's here. So what happens when we die? Who is God? And then finally, the ultimate question, what is faith? You know, a couple of nights ago, my oldest granddaughter, who's just started high school, and she's at a Catholic high school, and she had a big project to do, and she and her parents, my daughter and her husband, were trying to help her with this project, and guess what it was? It was Thomas Aquinas' 5 proofs for the existence of God. This is a 14-year-old, okay? So she calls Grandma, you know? So I said to her, well, do you know what those proofs are? Oh, yeah, she says, the proof from contingency. I go, well, do you know what that means? No, I have no idea, she says. The proof, which again, the first cause, the proof, the unmoved mover, she named off all of the Aquinas things and wanted me to help her. And as I was trying to help her with it, I thought to myself, this is kind of heavy for a freshman in high school. And really, Is that where we begin? I don't really think so. I think all of you know that God exists, and there's really not any reason to go into this. But it's about faith. It's not really, are you out there wanting the 5 existential proofs of the existence of God? Instead, you want to know, how can I grow in my faith? That's a different question. The search for God lasts for a lifetime. It changes over time. It goes in stages. It's developmental. When I first came to St. Edward, this was our church. Every time I stand up here, I always think about that. Because when I first came here, this is the church I came to. And this was our altar. Our altar was right here. And the sacristy was that door right there, and these were confessionals. That was a confessional. We did have the kitchen. We did have our little cry room. The founding pastor's name was Father Louis Knight. That's his name right there. And every time he would celebrate Mass, he would always pray for those who were seeking. And that's really made a huge impression on me, because at that time I was really seeking. I wasn't where I'm at now in my seeking. I was in a much basic level. But he would, during the Mass, he would actually say this, every single Mass. He'd pray for those who were seeking, and he said, and may those who seek know that in seeking God, they have already found God. That's good news, isn't it? So if you're seeking, you've already found. God has found you, is what he kept saying to us. It wasn't just, I'm looking and I can't find God, but he said, God is seeking you, and once you realize you're seeking, you've already found God. So the question is not, is there a God? But rather, what is your faith? So how do we define faith? Well, we can define it in 2 different ways. One, that it's a process. And if you look at my bullet points here, a process, an evolving sense. Evolving is a very good word. It's not like you just have faith as a child and then it stays there. Let's hope not. It has to evolve. A sense of relatedness to other people. An evolving sense of soul or spirit. A dynamic, evolving pattern of the ways we find meaning in life. Evolving all 3 times. A process. Your faith is going to continue to go through stages, and it's going to evolve. It's also a gift, a theological virtue, faith. We have 3 theological virtues, faith, hope, and charity. Faith is a theological virtue. What do we mean by that? It means that God gives it to us. It's nothing that we earn or we find or we develop. It's a theological virtue given to us. Anyone can have the gift. Even the most obscure person you would never think would ever have it, has it. It's just up to us to let it grow. It's a gift of the Spirit that grounds us in relationship, not only to God, but to each other. And it gives meaning and coherence to our lives. Faith is also paradoxical. What do I mean by that? It means 2 opposite things at the same time. That's a paradox. So faith completely depends on God, and at the same time completely depends on us. It's a simultaneous dance of the Spirit between God and us. That's why people can have faith and it's dormant and you'd never know they had it, because they have to respond. It's just not enough to say you have faith. You need to respond to it, a simultaneous dance. And here's the paradoxical prayer of St. Benedict. Pray as though everything depends on God, and work as though everything depends on you. So it goes together, both of them. I'm going to talk to you a few minutes now about the stages of faith. And there's a man, his name is James Fowler. He's written a lot of books and articles, huge big book on the stages of faith. And I think you'll find this really interesting. Those of you especially that have kids, and also those of you just looking back in your own life, you can kind of understand where we're going here. Okay, so he says, here we go, that faith is innate. He calls this primal faith. And this is between 0, in the womb, in other words, and age 2. So the baby, when you look at a newborn, or even a baby in the womb, he says, has faith, has this primal faith. Is the baby aware of it? Well, not that we know of. We don't really know what's in the mind or brain of an infant because they can't talk yet. But it's there. And so when the baby is born then, they have an image of God that starts to emerge. And the first face that they recognize is their God. So who's the first face they recognize? You, me. We are, for a very short time, gods. Don't you love it? We are the gods. So mirrored then in the parents and the love and the care that the parents give for the newborn, the newborn begins to trust, and it shapes what is to come. Do newborns pray? We don't really know. So it's the prayer of the parent. It's the prayer of the parent. It's the prayer of every mom who is carrying a baby who can pray for that child. And so it's connected to the prayer of the parent. Then we go to stage 1, the intuitive projective faith. He calls this the impulsive self, from 2 to 6 years. Okay, 2 to 6 years. That's my little grandson, Vaughn. But he's older now. That's when he was 2. Okay, so if any of you have 2-year-olds, 2 to 6-year-olds in your households right now, or have anyone like that in your life, are they impulsive? Oh yeah, they're very impulsive. The image of God that they hold at this age is very literal. It's very real. I work with little kids. I ask them all the time, I want you to draw me a picture of God, or I want you to make me a collage. Find me some pictures that look like God to you, and you should see what they do. Very literal. Baby in a manger. They've seen that, right? Man on a cross. Sometimes it's a man sitting on a throne with a long white beard. Those are the kids that know the Old Testament. Okay? But very literal. Very literal. And if you try to joke with a 2 or 3-year-old, you know right away they usually don't get it. They think you're really serious. You know, whatever you're telling them is really true. And so at this age, too, you know, the rabbit does jump out of the hat for sure. That's not magic. That can really happen, you know. And they tell lies. I don't like to say lies, but they tell all of these fantastic stories because to them, it's real. It's really real. Okay, so what is it like for them to have a prayer life? It's memorized prayer. It's rote prayer. It's God bless mommy, God bless daddy, God bless the animals and the little ants on the ground and the butterflies and all that. But also now he lay me down to sleep. And those are prayers that they easily come to. So stage 1. Let's go to stage 2. This is called the mythic literal faith. He calls it the imperial self, 7 to 12 years old. When you're 7 to 12, are you imperial? Oh, yes, you are. Okay? You think, you know, all of a sudden you know everything. You're very precocious and know things. The image of God is very much a parent deity who rewards and punishes, very much like mom and dad, again. So if they're brought up in a loving household but are punished from time to time, God is loving but punishes you. If you're brought up in a punishing, withholding home, God becomes very withholding and punishing because God is identified with this image. So once again, at this age, God does punish people. If bad things happen, why did it happen? God punished them, okay? If I'm not good, I'm going to be punished, that sort of thing. Their prayer is very imaginative at this age. They like to make things up. They like to make prayers up. They can intercede. They'll pray for, you know, to get an A on the test or to win the soccer game or whatever it is, okay? There's a lot of prayer of contrition. I'm sorry for what I did, because that's what they usually say to you when they, right? I'm sorry, give me my iPad back, you know. Okay. And then there's bargaining with God at this stage. Dear God, if I go to Mass this Sunday? Will you please just, let me buy whatever it is I really want, So it's bargaining with God. Or it could be something like, if you'll just allow me to pass this test, then I'll never say another lie ever again. Things like that. So bargaining with God, you know what that is. Let's look at stage 2 for a minute and think about, do you know any adults in this stage? Probably. Yeah. Sometimes if I'm really pinned to the wall and I'm really upset, I can bargain with God. I can. I gave my whole life, God. Come on. I tell him that all the time. I've given my whole life up for you. You better do this for me. That's bargaining with God. So we can slip back into the imperial self pretty easily. Stage 3 is called the synthetic conventional faith, or the interpersonal self. And look at the age range here, from 13 to 20 years. Remember, these years are very arbitrary, because even though some of us have many more years than that, we act like the interpersonal self when it comes to God. This is the image of God as best friend and companion. I've worked a lot with teenagers, too, done a lot of retreats and things, and if you've been on retreats when you were a teenager, basically what those retreats are all about is you connecting with Jesus as a friend, because your friends are so important at this age. Mom and dad aren't as important, friends. It's the group identity, right? So that's how we see God then. We try to help teenagers see God as part of the group, as a friend, as being close. And the prayer, it's all about talking to God, having a conversation, just like you would with any friend or any close companion in your life. You're developing a closeness there, the interpersonal self. Again, how many adults are still here at this stage? Many. Let's go to stage 4. This is called the individuative reflective faith, and it's the introspective self. Who are these people? There's not an age here. I just put adults that are seriously on the journey. Okay, adults that are serious. Because adults that are on the journey can still be in some of those other stages, as I mentioned. But those who intentionally go on the journey, who are serious about it, go into this particular stage 4. Image of God starts to change. It can be very nebulous, like different, free-formed, not as specific as it was. I am a spiritual director. Basically what that means is that I've been trained to sit with people and talk to them about their relationship with God, one-on-one. One of the reasons that people come to spiritual direction is because they find themselves in this stage and it scares them. Because their image of God has now changed. A lot of times they'll sit down and they'll say, I'm not feeling connected, not like I used to. I don't feel the high of the retreat experience, the mountaintop experience anymore. I don't have those warm, fuzzy feelings anymore. What's happening to me? Am I losing my faith? And I tell them, no, you're actually growing and evolving into another stage of faith. So more nebulous, more changing, different. Prayer becomes more contemplative. Contemplative prayer is a form of prayer that's all about listening to God, resting in God. Instead of bargaining and I'm sorry and all the words that we put up there, it's all about being quiet and seeing what God might have to say to us. So it's meditative. There are new forms of prayer that emerge, and it's changing all the time. It's another whole form of growing in faith. Stage 5. There's 6 stages, by the way. So stage 5 is called conjunctive faith, the inter-individual self. It's hard for me to say who these people are, okay? But all I said is maybe these are adults seriously on the journey for more than 20 years. Could be less. Some people don't take as long. Some people that take to God very naturally and can go there. But I think most of the time it takes a while for you to find yourself in the stage. And once again, the image of God is ever changing. And I have these hands not folded anymore, but open. And that's how prayer is. That's how life is at this stage. It's very embracing. It's very big. Arms wide open instead of shut. More about stillness. There's a contemplative lifestyle where God is in everything. In all ordinary things, one can find God. It's a very high level of faith development. And finally, the last stage. And this is called universalizing faith, the God-grounded self. All I put here is, who are these people? Well, these are people that oftentimes we call saints. Some of them might be recognized saints with the big ST in front of their name. More often, though, they're people that you might know in your families, in your lives, that are actually saints. And you know who they are. Okay? At this particular stage, God is free of images. God is about the experience. Life is God. Love is God. It's a way of being at this level. And it's not necessarily that they're on their knees constantly. You know, these people just have God, are carrying God. God has consumed them, ravished them, and walks with them. And you know it, you sense it when you're around them. These are the people that you know have been chosen as saints. And prayer is unitive, mystical, and deep abiding. Those are some interesting words. Let me just talk to you a minute about mysticism. Many times people think mysticism is not what you think it is. Many times we think of mystical as being kind of otherworldly, ethereal, kind of, spooky, dark. No, that's not what we mean by mystical in the religious sense. Mystical means that you know God thoroughly by experience. You have experienced God personally. That's what mystical is. And so the prayer then becomes very experiential and very mystical in its origin. It's deep abiding. Most of the times people at this age are they are able to be very still and quiet. Silence is their friend. It doesn't bother them at all. I gave you a handout. I want you to find it now that I've gone through all these stages. I think it's yellow. And on one side of it, it has significant, I might have it here, significant moments on our life's journey. Do you find that? On the other side are all the stages of faith that I just talked to you about. Okay? So if you look at this side of it, it's all the stages I just talked about in the PowerPoint. But the most important question for you tonight, as we talk about our search for God, is to say, where am I on this journey of faith? And the best way to kind of do it is just to kind of look at your life. And so if you look at the side that has the timeline on it, the continuum on it, this side, I just have, there's your date of birth. I'm going to give you some time in a minute here to kind of do this. But there's your date of birth, so you can put your date there. If you don't want anybody to see the year, you don't have to put the year, okay? But I'm going to give you some time. I'm going to play a little music. And I'm going to give you some time, and I want you to think back. The best way to do it, some of us that have a few more years to think back on, the best way to do it is think of it in terms of these developmental stages or decades of your life. Okay, so you're going to start at your birth, and you're going to go forward. And so above the line, you're going to write experiences. Don't do it yet. Wait till I play the music. Okay, so above the line, you're going to write experiences of transcendence. Times, things that happen to you that maybe you never thought about, but they might be God was trying to say something to you in the experience. Remember, you know God by experience. You're a mystic, okay? So try to think of the experiences. Above the line, positive things that happened. Below the line, more challenging things. Sometimes people experience the death of a parent, a brother or sister, a grandparent, whatever, and that sticks out in our head like a milestone. So you'd put that there. Anything that you think that the memories that you have that have defined you, those were probably the times when God was breaking through in your life. Okay, so we're just going to have some fun here, thinking back on your life. If you're not willing to be reflective, you cannot be on the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is all about introspection and reflection. The more we know about ourselves, the more we're going to know about God. Because remember, faith is innate. God is in us. So the more we know about ourselves, the more we can connect to these things. We have this treasure house of God experiences within us that we may not have even thought about. So taking a little bit of time tonight, thinking about the search, knowing that there's a pattern that is developing, that developed in all of you, that brought you here. How did you get here? Do you think this is an accident that you're here? No, it's not. You answered a call. There was light streaming through you, and you answered it, which was a moment, a significant moment on your life's journey. Okay, so I want you to get nice and quiet. You need a pen, obviously, to do this. Okay, has everybody got that? And so I want you just to be really still, and I want you to start going back in your mind to when you were born, as much as you can remember. Most people don't remember many things from 2 or 3, some memories, and then just continue to go forward. Now the music's not going to go on forever, okay? So it's going to be about 7 to 10 minutes that you're going to have to cover your whole life. Now some of you young people will be easy, but the rest of us, we may need longer. So let's take that, and then after we're finished with that, please stay at your seats and keep silence, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and talk, okay? So let me get the music queued up here. Very chatty group. I could have your attention just for a moment. What I'd like for you to do now is to spend some time with those at your tables, and if you're team people, if you need to move, you can move. But we want to spend a few minutes listening to your stories. So it's really all about you. We can pipe in our own little stories here and there, but we'd really like to hear. Just choose 1 or 2 examples from your life story to share. And if you're not sure if it was a God moment or not, that's always good. Then you can share it and say, I don't know. And maybe all of you can just sort of chat about that. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. So have some fun talking among you. And hopefully someone at your table will be willing to share. If it's your story, hopefully you will share. If not, someone can speak for you if you are just too terrified to speak. So should I start here, Darlene? Who would like to, is there a story someone would like to share here? You want to share a story, Jason? Okay, please everyone give your attention to Jason. You don't have to get out. You can just stay right there.
Okay, short and sweet. Date of birth. I had a few moments, or more than a few, that God I feel was right there with me, and it was a God-touching moment. I was given to my grandparents, which is my grandma right here, when I was about 5 years old. So that, or 1. Okay, I'm sorry, 1. So that was a good moment. We had camping, the fun time at the beach, and in the motorhomes, which was a good times. Sports through the youth programs. And then, Santa Margarita High School, I think, put a seed in me with the Catholic faith. which was planted. That was a God moment. Bad was the death of my dad, which was her husband. That wasn't a good moment. And then I, here at St. Edward's, so which was a good God moment as well.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other stories? Anything you want to share here from this table? Okay. How about your table, Randy? Do you want to talk a little bit, Amanda? Do you feel comfortable sharing it?
So the biggest moment in my life, I never was really raised religiously. My mom was raised Catholic, but my dad wasn't really raised anything. So I never grew up going to Mass or church or anything like that, really. But the biggest moment for me was probably my boyfriend's conversion. He actually went through the RCIA program here 3 years ago. And at first that was really weird to me. I wasn't used to going to church or anything, but I started going to Mass with him and adoration with him. And I just know this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm really happy that I'm here.
Thank you. Anything else? You want to anybody? Nothing? Are you okay? You good? Okay, let's go to this table. We have a new person. This is Lucinda. She just joined us tonight. We won't put you on the spot unless you want to talk. Would anyone like to share your reflection of? Okay.
I'm not quite as organized as you guys, or y'all. I'm trying to say you guys. I started at a really, really, really early age, just having the question of, I guess I was 2 or 3 years old, and I drove my parents and anybody that was in my family crazy because I wanted to know if God created us and He created the world, then who created God? And they just would look at me like, that's crazy. And I just have always been searching for Him, and I think that He knew, of course, obviously, I was going to be sick. And I've had so many wonderful moments in my life. I put myself on the church bus at 4.5 and read that was really, really good. I was really active in that. And then the Rainbow Girls is a service organization. I got to do a lot of that. But I've lost my pretty much my entire family. And I always used to joke and say, I'm going to outlive all y'all, you'll see. But I'm feeling like I'm led here because I'm at that point where it's just different. I just want something more. And I was led here when I very first came just because it was so gorgeous, and I would pray up here. And just a lot of coincidences that aren't coincidences at all have led me here, and I'm really, really happy to be here. And thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you. Stories over here on this table. Who would like? You don't want to talk, Bruce?
All right. Well, I'm Bruce. I've had a lot of experiences, but the most poignant experience, I think, was, as I was saying, it was about 5 years ago. Pam was having eye problems. Basically, in a nutshell, was.
Can you hear him?
Okay. Yeah, you hear me now? All right. Now you can hear me. All right. Yeah, I sound like a commercial. Yeah, here we go. Well, basically 5 years ago, Pam lost her eyesight, and it was to an eye disease. When we were trying to find out why she was having problems, we went from doctor to doctor and trying to diagnose this and so forth, and nobody could figure it out. So I basically got to the point where I finally said, look, we've got to find a solution to the problem. And so her doctor basically said, well, I know this one doctor, actually 2 doctors up in USC, and you can either see the teacher or the student. And we said, well, we'll go see the teacher. So we made a trek up to see, and first off, he said, well, no, it can't be the disease that we think it could be. But so he diagnosed us as retinitis and sent us on our way home. But he did do a blood draw, do a test. And so things got worse, went back to see him. And then it was in December, and about a week later, we got a phone call saying, basically, how soon can you be up here to USC because you have the disease that basically robs your eyesight. And by the way, there is a research program that's taking place, and we will have to put you in this field study to basically give you a medication to see if this would abate and basically kind of like neutralize the disease. And so it did. But, the thing of it is, what the bottom story is this, is that God was really in the path of this because we had gone to one doctor, and this one doctor knew of this other doctor, and this one other doctor is really one of the few people in the world who knows this disease and knows how to work with it. And he was the only person who was actually in this field study with a couple other doctors. And being at the right place at the right time, it basically is the hand of God. It's basically is telling us, okay, this is where we have to go to get this done. And so, I knew that this was actually God's hand. I mean, there's no way you can put it, because nobody else in the world had help for Pam at that time. So
That's quite a story, Bruce. A lot of us know Pam anyway, because Pam has been with us in RCIA in the past. So happy to see you again, be here with us again. I'm really glad you're here, Bruce. Thank you. Yes.
There's only 12 people in the program. She's actually the only woman, and only 3 have made progress, and she's actually one of the 3 that has actually made progress.
Hi, I'm Daisy. So I feel very lucky. I've had a lot of times where I've been able to feel God's presence in my life, and usually when I feel God very close to me is when there's a life lesson that I have to learn, and I have to learn how to do something differently, and I'm not always great at that. And so I've had some amazing experiences that have really taught me about being grounded in relation through my life, and I've been able to, one of them was through college. I got to work with a lot of children at a Christian camp, and so being able to see, really God in action through what little kids are capable of, and what they come up with, and how they show you about how the world works. And I am not always great about opening up and talking about feelings, and then I fell in love with this very type A, transparent Catholic guy who brought me to St. Edward's. And so, he's been an instrument of God in teaching me of how to move forward in how I do my life, and how I get closer to God and move down my path as well. And so, I've been very, very, very fortunate in my life, but I know when I do come up against those challenges, I can always really see God working. And so I'm very grateful to be here, and have definitely just felt his presence for many, many years.
Thank you so much. Lindsay, do you have anything you want to say? No? You don't have to. I don't want to. Here, go ahead. I can. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me? I'm Lindsay. I think the most important time for me in feeling connected to God was I was raised Lutheran, and I went to a Lutheran school, and it was about religion every day, and chapel every Wednesday, and Sunday at church with my family, and I think that was my favorite memory. And that happened all the way through high school, so having that consistency, I think, was such a special moment for me. I also think I'm from a very small town in Illinois, and I felt like God was there pushing me to come to California. I always knew growing up that I wanted something bigger, something more, and I think him giving me that push to come here really helped me during that time. I think the biggest challenge I've had is the death of my father, who passed away 16 years ago, and I think that's why I'm here. I question, why wasn't he there for me? But I can say on September 14th, my fiance and I came here to church, and we came here, and I was skeptical, and I think during the middle of the Mass, him and I just looked at each other, and there was just a connection that I knew this was for me, and this is what I wanted to do, and this is the path that we're going to go down together. So there's something special right here, so I'm excited about that.
Thanks for all of you taking the risk to talk. Okay, here we are. Who's going to be at this table? Anybody?
Hi, I don't know, can everybody hear me? I'm Katie. I've had, similar to you, I've had God present in my life from a young age, and there were plenty of times where I became in situations where I questioned, why God, or where are you during these difficult times? And I've been blessed a lot lately, and I still search to find my faith, and that is what has led me here. And I'm also blessed to be able to do this with my father. So, thanks.
Thank you. Dad, have anything to offer? Anything more? Okay. No.
I got her here.
You got her here. Okay. That's enough.
Can everyone hear? Okay. I'm Trisha, and I was baptized Catholic, but my family didn't have us practice after being baptized, and my dad wasn't really religious. So besides saying prayers at night when we were really little kids, I never really felt like we had a connection to church or God. And in 1992, my dad dropped dead of a massive heart attack at 38 when I was 11 years old, and my mom brought us back to the church. So we went back to church in 92, and was there for like a few months, but then once again, we became teenagers, my sister and I, and soccer practices and band and all kinds of things took over. So when I graduated high school in 99, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and my father had been a police officer, and my mom told me that I'd always been like my dad and sent me in the direction to go to college for criminal investigations. So just prior to me moving here in April of this year, I was a police officer for the last 7 years, and I felt that God spoke to me in 2005 when I first put on a badge and a gun belt. In a positive light, I felt that was my father back with me and was guiding me in the right direction. So in 2007, while I was a police officer in Daytona Beach, Florida, a bunch of things started happening, and I thought it was time for me to move on. I was in a tornado. I had a friend that was murdered, and it was a murder-suicide with another officer I worked with. And so I felt God was telling me, like, my time here in Florida was up. So I moved to Beaufort, South Carolina, where I continue to be a police officer and try and help people. But I'm so happy to be at where I'm at right now. In 2012, I met my husband, and in 2013, we got married. And this has been the year of change for us. We moved from South Carolina in May. I left my career. I was 6 months pregnant. I gave birth 3 weeks ago to a baby girl, and we found St. Edward's, and so I feel that God's put me right where I need to be as I get ready to deal also with my first deployment. So I'm hoping you guys can all help me and support me in that as well. So that's where I'm at.
Wow. She has pictures too.
Hello, I'm Kelsey. My story is really short. I grew up in a divorced family, and my parents didn't teach us anything about religion. They pretty much just said, God is real, believe in God, but that was about it. In middle school, I had a friend who invited me to church, just a random church, and pretty much bounced from church to church. I'm 22 now, and a friend of mine introduced me to the Catholic Church less than a year ago, and I absolutely loved it. I've never been baptized, so I'm really excited for that. And I just really feel like I belong here. I've seriously tried every church, literally every church besides this one, just for random reason. And my friend invited me, and I just really felt like I belonged, and I loved it, and I'm really, really happy here. So that's my story.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you, Kelsey. David, you want to talk?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave. I won't go through my whole timeline, but I'll share one situation that I sort of came across in my life that seemed very challenging at first, and then now looking back, realizing that that was definitely the Lord's influence. So when I graduated high school, I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I was an engineering major there. And at that school, you have to be sort of apply into a major, and every major is impacted. It's very hard to switch majors. So after my first year, I was over engineering and wanted to switch into business. And when I tried to switch, it seemed like every door was closing. They said that you wouldn't graduate for 6 years. You'd have to continue in engineering and business courses, and all of these other roadblocks that I kept coming into. And I'd met a lot of great friends there that first year, and started feeling like I was getting used to the college life and wanted to go back again, but there were all these roadblocks. But at any rate, that summer, then I started looking into, okay, what other schools should I transfer to? And it was the transfer process to the University of Redlands was very easy, and it seemed like a good fit for me. So I went ahead and transferred after that first year into Redlands, and that's where I ended up meeting my wife. And so, now looking back, I'm so thankful that I transferred and that all the doors were closed at Cal Poly, so then it enabled me to be able to meet my wife and be where I am today.
Okay, we have okay.
Okay, first to my immediate left, Lauren. Lauren is in a new marriage, and her husband's a cradle Catholic, and they have a brand new boy. And Lauren's here because she wants her entire family to have a great foundation, a great religious foundation. And fortunately, her husband is Catholic, and that's getting them their great start. That's been one of probably the highlight of her life. But like that old cliche, you get something taken away from you, and you get something great back. And on the low side of her spectrum was her grandmother's death. But again, she has seen the great side of the Lord with her husband and their baby boy. So then we have Stephanie. Another great story here in that she was baptized Catholic, and due to a family situation, went years without the church. A great positive story about Stephanie is she is just incredibly self-driven, and with her own drive and enthusiasm, she put herself through college. And it was just last May that you completed your college graduation, last May. And again, another negative positive. The negative was that she had an illness. Her brother has been ill, but that illness has created some togetherness in her family, and they're all church going now, and that's why she's here. And I am going to say something on both Rick and my behalf. We're honored to be at this table with you guys. I love your energy, so congratulations.
Thanks for speaking. It's nice to have somebody talk for you, isn't it? Tracy?
Well, I think like Kelsey, I grew up with absolutely no religion. On my dad's side, it was a devout Mormon, and on my mom's side, it was the country club on Sundays. So had no religion. And when I look at the question, where are you on the journey of faith, I have to move to a little bit later in my life where I met my husband, who's with me here tonight, to be very supportive. He's a cradle Catholic and grew up in a very devout Catholic household. I knew nothing about religion or spirituality until we were dating and eventually married. And the really cool thing about it was, and I think I told you about this last week, my husband has this amazing ability to teach about the Catholic religion and draw analogies to golf and baseball. And as we were dating, we were avid golfers and we're big baseball fans. And I thought, this is really, really cool. And so he would explain he asked me one time, do you know what Good Friday is? And I just looked at him and I said, well, it's a day off early. I mean, that's what Good Friday was to me. but he made religion fun, and he related it to everyday life. And I have to say that I never knew what faith was until I saw my husband demonstrate it. And it can be a bunch of words, but until you see somebody actually demonstrate faith, and I I look at my husband and I say to myself, I want that. I want to have that faith in my life because he lives it. And I so appreciate you being here to support me.
Thank you for coming, George. Thank you for coming. I think we only have one other table. You get to be the last one. Taylor, do you want to talk, or Carla? Taylor? Okay, here you go.
My name's Taylor. Had a pretty up and down religious life. I went to a elementary school that was Lutheran, go to church twice a week, and at 6th grade, I stopped going to that school, and I stopped going to church, kind of, and I'd go in and out. Sometimes in high school I'd go, sometimes I wouldn't, and college, didn't go that much, and in college I met my fiance, Carla, and I started going to church more and more, and randomly, a little bit more frequently though, and quite honestly, I have a lot of doubts, but then there's times where, things happen to me, such as, you guys are talking about, where, hey, my faith grows. And about last week, I had a pretty big thing happen to me, where my mother had a heart attack, and luckily she made it. I'll just say that. She made it out all right. But she had a heart attack, and the doctor said, "Oh, you're gonna have open heart surgery." And I got real, nervous when I was there, because I was there when the doctor said it. And I just asked God, if you could just give me the strength not to cry in front of my mom. I really appreciate that. And I never cried once, this whole past week when I was in front of my mom before she had her surgery. And, thank God that she came out the surgery. And, I never cried in front of her once. He came through with, that request. Because I just wanted to make her know that, I was strong and it was going to be okay, whatever happened, if she passed or she lived. And that was pretty intense. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So I just want to, I want to thank everybody for who shared. And I want to go back to this slide that, faith is paradoxical, just like life is. So many things, we heard tonight, personal testimonies from people who've struggled. And just that element of it could go either way. When someone suffers a heart attack, when someone has to face, a serious chronic illness like Pam, or these serious things happen in our lives, and we reach out. Those are the moments that we reach out to God. That's when you know that God is in you. Because when the suffering comes, then the cries of the heart come. And the cries of the heart, that's prayer. That's what prayer is. It's just reaching out. It's those moments when we just say, God help me here. So it's paradoxical. It's does God cause these things to happen? No. God wants us to be happy and whole and perfect and everybody's life to be just wonderful. It's the other forces in our life that cause these other things to happen. Sometimes they're biological things that are not evil at all. They just are things that happen in nature. So it's not so much, what happens to us, it's what we do with it that's important. And that's where faith comes in. Because when the chips are really down, if you don't have some sort of foundation, you can't manufacture it on the moment. You can't just make it happen, So that's why taking time and being on the journey of faith and being serious about it and providing yourself with a strong foundation is really important. It's the best time and the most effort you'll ever put in anything, but you'll be rewarded the greatest for doing it. So I want to, again, thank everybody for risking and sharing, and we'll be doing more of this, although some nights it'll be much more academic than it was tonight. I would like to end tonight with a prayer that I provided for you. It's on that pink sheet that you have. And this particular prayer I just need one person to be a reader. Anybody want to be a reader? Dave will do it. Does any of our candidates like to read instead of us team doing all of this? Oh, here we go. Tracy will do it. Yay, Dave, you're out of a job. Okay. So where it says leader, that's me, and then reader will be you, Tracy, okay? And then where it says all, that's all of us. And then I'm going to play a song called You've Searched Me, and it's based on a psalm. So we'll listen to that, and that'll be our final prayer. Now, all of you that are not Catholic know that all of us Catholics always start our prayers in a particular way. We always bless ourselves. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, that's how we do it. Why do we do that? We are beginning our prayer by blessing our body, by bringing our complete self into the prayer. That's why we do it. We pray in the name so that it's not just me talking to myself. I'm reminding myself that I am communicating with God in God's name, in the name of the Trinity. That's why we bless ourselves. That's why you see Catholics doing that all the time. It's a way for us to call our entire being into prayer. Sometimes when you see us go into Mass, there's holy water, and we take water and we do the same thing. You'll see us doing that. Why do we do that? We're doing that to remind ourselves of our baptism. The holy water that we were baptized with, we are now blessing ourselves with to remind ourselves. I was baptized as a baby. I don't remember my baptism. So every time I go in the church, when there's water there, and that I think, I remember my parents had me baptized, and I am baptized in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So I bless my body with it. That's why we do it. It's not magical. We don't think there's magical powers or anything in it. We're doing it for ourselves, to try to discipline ourselves into prayer. Okay, so I'm just telling you that. You don't have to make the sign of the cross. You can if you want to. It's not like if you're not Catholic, you can't do it. No, anybody can do it if they want to. Some people don't feel comfortable, so don't do it if you don't feel comfortable. I'm not even going to look. Nobody's going to look. If you want to do it, you can. But tonight, we're going to just start with this prayer. And so just feel it. I mean, if you feel like you want to bless yourself, do it. If you don't do it. It's perfectly fine either way. I think I have it queued up. Do you want to see it's queued up? Do you search me? Okay. All right. All right, so let us begin. So when you go to pray, just try to center yourself, focus inward, try to find a still point. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. Our understanding of God is never achieved once and for all. Our view of God remains always through a glass darkly. However, something happens to a person, and this we can sense when the search for the Holy One begins in earnest. We seek you, God. We search for you in human behavior, in theological studies, in relationships, and in the many experiences we cannot explain in this life. Sometimes you seem so far away and mysterious. Sometimes you feel as close as the air we breathe. Reveal yourself to us. Let us know you. Let us love you so that we can love one another. Speak to us in the depths of our hearts. Together. Loving God, even though I say I want you in my life, I run from you. I seek refuge in my work and let myself be driven by the busyness of my day. I am so easily distracted by all the little things in life that don't really matter. I have gone my way too long without you. Still, you have followed me, even when I wanted to hide. You heard my every word, even those not intended for your ears. Even my most secret thoughts were open to you. Help me to open the door of my heart and welcome you in.
Searched me, Lord. You know me when I sit and when I stand. You know me. Where can I escape you, your presence?
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Oh, that was a shock. Try it one more time. That was not a God moment, okay? That was jarring. Okay, let's just... I'm just going to end up. If I fly to the sunrise or westward to the sea, your right hand will guide me, holding me, holding me. Amen. Good night and God